So how exactly should we intervene? It's a big problem, but who's responsible to solve the problem? When is it ethical in general to provide assistance, and how is that best done? Furthermore, should we have the government doing it? In fact, as we've seen, the government is partly responsible for the problem. They've subsidized processed foods in a way that's led to the kinds of obesity epidemics that we've seen. So the issues that we're going to think about here need to be informed by a broader conception of what a just society is like. Some people, like the philosophers Locke and Nozick, emphasize the idea of liberty. Those who emphasize the idea of liberty think that assistance often violates autonomy, both those who are helped and those who are doing the helping. On the other hand, you have some philosophers who think a just society involves a duty to others that's most important, and that a failure to provide assistance is the most fundamental form of injustice. So philosophers like this include Mill, Rawls, Sen, and Nussbaum, and they emphasize equality of resources, not just equality of opportunity, as important to a just society. In thinking about these issues, let's just ask a broader question of what government is for. Why would government help given its general role? So philosophers often draw on an idea that Rousseau introduced in his aptly titled A Discourse on Inequality. So let's think about what the government is for. We could either have individuals just operating separately or operating together. What's the role of a government in forcing or compelling people to operate together? He illustrated with this idea of either hunting a deer together, or a stag, or we could hunt a rabbit individually. If we hunt together, we assume some personal risk. It might be that we don't get a deer and everybody goes hungry. Whereas if you hunt individually, you're kind of secured by your own abilities to get a rabbit. On the other hand, if we hunt a stag together, the general level of welfare might increase. Some people who are not able to hunt for themselves are going to get food, such as small children. Whereas with the rabbit, that might not be the case. So one way of thinking about government and justice in general is thinking about these kinds of cases to see which direction you head in. So let's think in a more specific way about whether or not the US government should help with the issue. So one way of providing a lens on this issue is thinking about soda bans in the United States. So soda bans were controversially proposed in New York City to try and battle the epidemic of obesity and diabetes. So in later reading, you'll be looking at a piece by Sarah Conley called 3 Cheers for the Nanny State, suggesting that this kind of approach is exactly what we need. But we'll also be thinking about the various limitations of such an approach.